Alex Carter stared at the massive alien ship through the window of his vessel. The ship was unlike anything he had ever seen. It looked like a giant crystal floating in space, glowing with soft blue and silver light. His heart beat faster as he realized this was really happening. Humans were about to meet an alien civilization for the first time. He was the captain of the Endeavor, a human exploration ship. For weeks they had been mapping new star systems when they received a strange signal. The signal was clearly intelligent, clearly alien. After days of careful communication attempts, the aliens had invited them to visit their homeworld. Alex knew this moment would change human history forever. Dr. Nina Shaw stood beside him, checking the translation device for the 100th time. She was the ship's language expert, and she looked nervous. The device was new technology, built to learn alien languages quickly, but it had never been tested with real aliens before. "The translation system is still learning their language," Nina said quietly. "It should work, but there might be small errors. Please be careful with your words, Captain." Alex nodded. His first officer, Commander Kyle Morrison, stood behind them with his arms crossed. Kyle didn't trust the aliens. He thought this invitation might be a trap, but Alex had made the decision to accept. They had come too far to turn back now. The shuttle ride to the planet's surface was smooth. As they descended through the atmosphere, Alex saw cities that looked like they were made of glass and light. Towers stretched up into the sky, reflecting the sun in thousands of colors. It was beautiful and strange at the same time. They landed in front of the largest building Alex had ever seen. It looked like a palace carved from a single enormous crystal. Alien guards stood at the entrance. They were tall and elegant, with skin that shimmered blue and silver. Their eyes glowed softly, and strange patterns on their skin seemed to change color with their emotions. An elderly alien greeted them at the entrance. He wore long robes decorated with complex symbols. "Welcome, humans," he said. The translation device on Alex's ear turned his words into English. "I am Ambassador Zixthan. Queen Lyravex has been expecting you. Please follow me." They walked through long hallways filled with light. Alex noticed that everything seemed to be made from some kind of crystal or glass, but it was stronger than any material he knew. The aliens they passed stopped to stare at the humans. Some looked curious, others looked worried or afraid. Finally, they reached the throne room. Alex's breath caught in his throat. The room was massive, with walls that rose up so high he could barely see the ceiling. Light poured in from windows that seemed to change the sunlight into rainbows. And at the far end of the room, sitting on a throne made of blue crystal, was the Queen. Queen Lyravex was young, perhaps only in her late 20s by human standards. She was beautiful in a way that was completely alien. Her skin was the color of moonlight on water, silver blue and smooth. Her eyes were large and bright, the color of sapphires. Patterns of light moved slowly across her skin, like ripples on a pond. She wore a crown that seemed to be made of frozen light, and robes that flowed around her like liquid silver. Alex and his team stopped at the required distance and bowed, as Ambassador Zixthan had instructed them. The Queen stood and walked down from her throne. Her movements were graceful and smooth. She stopped a few feet away from Alex and looked at him with obvious curiosity. "Captain Carter," she said, and her voice was like music. "Welcome to the Vraxi Empire. You are the first human I have ever met. Your people are very far from home. Your Majesty," Alex replied carefully. "Thank you for inviting us to your world. We come in peace, hoping to learn and to build friendship between our peoples." The Queen smiled. It was a genuine smile that made her eyes light up. "I believe you," she said. "Your honesty is refreshing. The Vraxi value strength, wisdom, and partnership above all things. We wish to know if your people share these values." "We do," Alex said with confidence. The Queen nodded and gestured for them to walk with her. She led them to a large table where food and drink had been prepared. As they sat, she explained more about her empire. The Vraxi controlled 12 star systems. They had achieved space travel thousands of years ago. They were a peaceful people, but they were also powerful. They had never met another intelligent species before humans. "To show our good faith," the Queen said, "I wish to offer you something. In our culture, when we meet someone we respect, we offer them a place in our society. A rank, if you will. It shows that we see you as equals, not as strangers." Alex felt honored. This was exactly the kind of diplomatic gesture Earth had hoped for. Nina quickly showed him her tablet, where the translation system had prepared a list of possible ranks. There were military positions, advisory roles, diplomatic titles. Alex read through them carefully, trying to choose something that would show respect without overstepping. Then one title caught his eye. The translation system listed it as husband, but there was a note underneath explaining that in Vraxi culture, this meant a partner in leadership, someone who stood beside the ruler as an equal. It seemed perfect. It would show that humans wanted a true partnership, not just a distant alliance. Alex looked up at the Queen and smiled. "I choose husband," he said clearly. The entire room went silent. Not a sound could be heard. Alex noticed that every Vraxi in the throne room had frozen in place. Ambassador Zixthan's eyes were as wide as dinner plates. Nina grabbed Alex's arm, her face pale with shock. Even Kyle, who usually showed no emotion, looked stunned. Alex looked at the Queen, confused by the reaction. Queen Lyravex was staring at him with an expression he couldn't read. The patterns on her skin were moving faster now, flashing through colors he hadn't seen before. Her lips were slightly parted in surprise. "Captain Carter," the Queen said slowly, her voice trembling slightly. "Do you understand what you have just said?" Alex felt a cold fear growing in his stomach. "I chose a partnership role," he said carefully, "to show that humans want to work with you as equals." Nina was frantically typing on her tablet. Suddenly she made a small choking sound. "Captain," she whispered urgently. The translation was wrong. "Husband doesn't mean partner in leadership. It means royal consort. You just asked to marry the Queen." Alex felt like the floor had disappeared beneath him. His face went hot, then cold. He had just proposed marriage to an alien queen he had met less than an hour ago. This was a disaster. This could ruin everything. Earth's first contact with aliens, and he had accidentally proposed marriage. "Your Majesty," Alex said quickly, his words tumbling over each other. "I apologize. There was a translation error. I didn't mean to suggest that I wanted to marry you. I only meant to show respect and partnership between our peoples." The Queen continued to stare at him. Then slowly something changed in her expression. The shock faded away, replaced by something that looked almost like amusement. The corners of her mouth turned up in a small smile. "How interesting," she said softly. She walked closer to Alex, studying his face carefully. "You are either the bravest human in your galaxy, or you have made a very big mistake. Either way, you have caught my attention, Captain Carter." Alex didn't know what to say. He stood frozen, waiting for her to laugh at him, or to send him away, or to call her guards to arrest him for insulting her. Instead, the Queen did something no one expected. She reached out her hand to him, palm up in what seemed to be a Vraxi gesture of acceptance. "I accept your offer, Captain Carter," she said clearly, her voice carrying through the silent throne room. "I will take you as my royal consort." The throne room exploded into noise. Vraxi nobles started talking all at once. Some looked shocked, others looked angry. Ambassador Zixthan looked like he might faint. Nina grabbed Alex's arm so hard it hurt. Kyle stepped forward, his hand moving toward his weapon. But Alex couldn't look away from the Queen. She was still smiling at him, and her eyes sparkled with something that might have been humor, or curiosity, or maybe a challenge. He had the feeling that his life had just changed in ways he couldn't even begin to understand. Alex woke up in a room that was too beautiful to be real. The walls were made of smooth crystal that glowed with soft light. The bed was enormous and more comfortable than anything he had ever slept in. For a moment he thought it had all been a strange dream. Then he remembered everything and his stomach dropped. He was now the official consort to an alien queen. The ceremony had happened so quickly after his accidental proposal that he barely remembered it. There had been music, lights, and hundreds of Vraxi watching him. The Queen had placed a silver bracelet on his wrist that marked him as her chosen partner. And now he was living in the royal palace in rooms next to the Queen's own chambers. A soft knock came at his door. Alex called for them to enter, and a Vraxi servant came in with breakfast. The food looked strange but smelled good. The servant bowed deeply and left without speaking. Alex realized that everyone in the palace now treated him with great respect. It was uncomfortable and strange. After breakfast, Ambassador Zixthan arrived. The old Vraxi looked tired but determined. He sat down across from Alex and studied him carefully. "Captain Carter," he began, "we need to talk about your new position. There is much you must learn about being a royal consort. The role carries great responsibility and power. You will be expected to attend all court sessions, advise the Queen on important matters, and represent the royal family at events. Alex ran his hand through his hair. Ambassador, I need to be honest with you. This was all a mistake. I never meant to propose marriage to the Queen. Isn't there a way to undo this without causing problems? Zixton shook his head slowly. The ceremony was witnessed by the entire court. To break the bond now would be a great insult to the Queen. It would make her look foolish and weak. It could even start a war between our peoples if it seems like humans tricked us. Alex felt trapped. He was stuck in this situation, at least for now. Then I need to learn how to do this properly, he said. I don't want to embarrass the Queen or cause more problems. Zixton smiled for the first time. That is a wise answer. I will help you. But know this, Captain. The Queen is not upset about what happened. She could have refused your offer, but she chose to accept it. I think she sees something in you that interests her. For the next few days, Alex lived in a strange new world. Zixton taught him Vraxi customs and manners. He learned how to bow properly to different ranks of nobles. He learned which eating utensils to use for which foods. He learned the complex rules about colors and clothing. Everything had meaning in Vraxi culture, and one wrong move could insult someone. On his third day at the palace, Alex was invited to have breakfast with the Queen. His hands shook as he dressed in the formal Vraxi clothing that had been prepared for him. The clothes were comfortable but looked nothing like human fashion. He wore a long robe of dark blue with silver thread, and soft boots that made no sound when he walked. The Queen's private dining room was smaller and more comfortable than the grand throne room. Windows looked out over gardens filled with alien plants in colors Alex had never seen before. Queen Lyravex was already there, sitting at a table. She wore simpler clothes than her throne room robes, but she still looked like something from a dream. Good morning, Alex, she said, gesturing for him to sit. She used his first name, which surprised him. I hope you have been comfortable in your rooms. Very comfortable, Your Majesty, Alex replied carefully. Thank you for your hospitality, she waved her hand. When we are alone, you may call me Lyra. We are partners now, after all. There is no need for such formality between us. Alex nodded and tried to relax. They began to eat, and Lyra asked him questions about Earth and human culture. She wanted to know everything. What did Earth look like? How did humans govern themselves? What kind of food did they eat? What did they do for fun? Alex found himself talking more freely than he expected. Lyra was easy to talk to. She listened carefully to everything he said, asking smart questions that showed she was really thinking about his answers. He realized that she was not just being polite. She was genuinely curious about humans. Your people sound very different from mine, Lyra said thoughtfully. Vraxi society is very organized. Everyone has their place, their role. But humans seem more flexible. You adapt and change quickly. That must be useful. It can be, Alex agreed. But it also means we argue a lot. We don't always agree on the best way to do things, Lyra smiled. We have that problem too. Some of my nobles are very unhappy that I chose a human as my consort. They think I should have married someone from a powerful Vraxi family. They believe you are too different, too alien to understand our ways. They might be right, Alex said honestly. I made a huge mistake with the translation device. What if I make more mistakes that cause problems? Lyra looked at him with those bright blue eyes. Alex, may I ask you something personal? Of course. Why did you really choose that title? I know it was a translation error, but you could have chosen any of the other options. What made you pick that one? Alex thought about it. I wanted to show that humans see the Vraxi as true partners, not as people we want to control or use. The word suggested equality and partnership. That's what I wanted to communicate. Lyra was quiet for a moment. Then she smiled again, and this time the smile reached her eyes. That is why I accepted your offer, Alex. Not because I thought you were trying to marry me, but because your mistake showed me what your people value. You risked looking foolish to show respect and partnership. That took courage. Before Alex could respond, a guard burst into the room. He looked panicked. Your Majesty, forgive the interruption, but there is an emergency. Ships have been spotted near the outer colonies. They are attacking our mining stations. Lyra stood up immediately, her face becoming serious and cold. The Korvath? She asked. Yes, Your Majesty. They are demanding we surrender the colonies or face war. Lyra looked at Alex. Come with me. If you are to be my consort, you must learn about all aspects of ruling. That includes protecting our people. They rushed through the palace to a large command center. The room was filled with screens showing star maps and reports from the outer colonies. Vraxi military officers stood around a central table, arguing about the best response. They all fell silent when the Queen entered. "Report," Lyra ordered. An admiral stepped forward. "The Korvath have sent a battle fleet to the Nexar colonies. They destroyed 2 mining stations before our defense fleet could respond. They claim the colonies belong to them by ancient right. They demand we leave immediately." "That is ridiculous," another officer said. "Those colonies have been ours for 300 years. The Korvath have no claim to them." "The Korvath do not care about rights," the admiral replied. "They see that we have formed an alliance with humans. They fear we are becoming too strong. They attack now while they think we are distracted." Alex listened carefully. The Korvath were another alien species, apparently rivals to the Vraxi. They saw the human alliance as a threat. This was partly his fault. His presence here had changed the political situation. Lyra studied the star map. "How many ships do they have?" 20 warships. Our defense fleet has only 12 ships in that sector." The room fell silent. Everyone knew those were bad numbers. The Vraxi ships were powerful, but not powerful enough to fight when outnumbered like that. "Your Majesty," Alex said quietly. Everyone turned to look at him. He felt their stares, some curious, some angry that he dared to speak. "May I make a suggestion?" Lyra nodded. "Speak freely. The human ship Endeavor is still in orbit. We have weapons and skilled fighters. We may not have ships as advanced as yours, but we can help. And more importantly, if humans fight beside Vraxi, it sends a message to the Korvath. It shows them that our alliance is real and strong." The admiral looked offended. "We do not need help from primitive human ships." "Primitive or not," Alex said calmly, "we are here and we are willing to fight. Numbers matter in war. Even one more ship could make a difference." Lyra looked at him with new interest. "You would risk your ship and crew to defend our colonies. You barely know us." Alex met her eyes. "You welcomed us as friends. You offered us partnership. Those words mean something to humans. If we say we are allies, we act like allies." The room was silent again. Then Lyra smiled just a little. "Contact the human ship," she ordered. "Tell Commander Morrison that we request his assistance, and prepare our main fleet to move to the Nexar sector. If the Korvath want war, we will give them one they will remember." As the officers rushed to follow her orders, Lyra pulled Alex aside. "That was well said," she told him quietly. "You may have made some nobles angry, but you impressed others, including me." Alex felt a strange warmth in his chest. Despite everything that had happened, despite the confusion and fear, he realized he was starting to care about what happened to the Vraxi. And maybe, just maybe, he was starting to understand why the Queen had accepted his accidental proposal. The battle for the Nexar colonies lasted 3 days. Alex watched most of it from the palace command center, standing beside Queen Lyra as she directed her forces. He had never seen anything like it. Vraxi warships moved through space like dancers, their crystal hulls glowing as they fired weapons of pure energy. The Korvath ships were darker, more aggressive, made of black metal and bristling with weapons. The Endeavor fought alongside the Vraxi fleet. Commander Kyle Morrison proved to be an excellent tactical officer. His ship was smaller and slower than the alien vessels, but human weapons technology was different from what the Korvath expected. Kyle used guerrilla tactics, hitting the enemy from unexpected angles and disappearing before they could respond. Alex found himself giving advice during the battle. His experience in the human military gave him a different way of thinking about combat. The Vraxi fought with honor and order. Alex suggested less honorable but more effective approaches: traps, feints, misdirection. At first, the Vraxi admirals were offended by his suggestions. But when his ideas worked, they started listening more carefully. On the second day of fighting, Alex proposed a risky strategy. He suggested that the Vraxi fleet pretend to retreat, drawing the Korvath ships away from the colonies. Then the Endeavor and 3 Vraxi ships would circle around and attack the Korvath supply vessels from behind. Without supplies, the Korvath battle fleet would have to withdraw. Admiral Krenvor, the Vraxi fleet commander, was angry. "You want us to run away? That is cowardly." "It is not running away," Alex explained patiently. "It is strategy. Sometimes appearing weak makes you strong. The Korvath will think they are winning. They will get careless. That is when we strike." Lyra had been quiet during the discussion. Now she spoke. "I agree with Alex's plan. We will do as he suggests." The admiral looked shocked. "Your Majesty, this human knows nothing of Vraxi military tradition. We do not retreat. We do not use deception. Times change, Admiral, Lyra said firmly. Our traditions are important, but so are our people. I will not let colonists die to protect our pride. We will try Alex's strategy. The plan worked perfectly. The Vraxi fleet pretended to fall back, and the Korvath ships chased them eagerly. While the Korvath were distracted, Kyle led the strike team against their supply convoy. The attack was swift and devastating. Without fuel and ammunition, the Korvath battle fleet had no choice but to retreat. When the victory was confirmed, the command center erupted in celebration. Vraxi officers who had been cold to Alex now looked at him with new respect. Some even came to thank him personally. Admiral Krenvor approached him stiffly. I was wrong about you, human, the Admiral said. You think differently than we do, but that does not make your thoughts less valuable. You have my respect. Alex shook the Admiral's hand in the human way, then remembered and bowed in the Vraxi manner. The Admiral smiled and returned the bow. It was a small moment, but Alex knew it meant something important. That evening, Lyra invited Alex to walk with her in the palace gardens. It was the first time they had been alone since the battle began. The gardens were beautiful at night, lit by plants that glowed with soft bioluminescent light. Strange night birds sang songs that sounded almost like human music. They walked in silence for a while. Finally, Lyra spoke. You saved many lives today, Alex. The colonies are safe because of your strategy. Kyle and your admirals did the real work, Alex said. I just made suggestions. Do not be modest, Lyra said with a smile. You proved yourself today, not just to my military but to the nobles who doubted you. They see now that you are more than just a diplomatic accident. You are valuable to the Empire. Alex stopped walking and looked at her. In the soft light of the garden, she was breathtakingly beautiful. The patterns on her skin glowed gently, reflecting her calm mood. Can I ask you something personal? He said, Of course. Why did you really accept my proposal? I know what you told me before. But was that the whole truth? Lyra was quiet for a long moment. She looked up at the alien stars above them. I have been queen since I was 20 years old, she said softly. My mother died suddenly, and I inherited the throne before I was ready. For 7 years I have ruled alone. I have advisors, but I make all the final decisions. It is lonely. She turned to look at Alex. Every noble family wants me to marry their son. They see me as a way to gain power. They do not see me as a person. But you, Alex Carter, you did not even know who I was when you made your choice. You were not trying to gain power or use me. You were trying to build a bridge between our peoples. So you said yes because I did not want anything from you? Alex asked. Partly, Lyra admitted, but also because you interested me. You are strange and alien, yes, but you are also kind, intelligent, and brave. I wanted to know more about you. I wanted to see what would happen if I gave this accident a chance to become something real. Alex felt his heart beating faster. And now, after spending time together, what do you think? Lyra smiled, and her skin patterns flickered with colors he had learned meant happiness. I think I made the right choice. I think you might be exactly what I needed, even though neither of us planned it this way. Before Alex could respond, an alarm sounded from the palace. They both turned and ran back toward the command center. Something was wrong. They found the command center in chaos. Officers were shouting and screens flashed with warnings. Ambassador Zixton was there looking grim. What happened? Lyra demanded. Your Majesty, Zixton said. There has been an attack. Not from the Korvath. From within the palace, Alex felt cold. What kind of attack? An explosion in the East Wing. Several guards were injured. And there was a message left behind. It said that the human consort is a threat to Vraxi purity. It said that you must be removed, Your Majesty, if you will not remove him yourself. Lyra's face became cold and hard. The gentle woman Alex had been talking to in the garden was gone, replaced by a queen who looked ready to go to war. Someone in my own palace attacked us? Someone who opposes the human alliance? It appears so, Zixton said. Find them, Lyra ordered. Search every corner of the palace. I want to know who did this. The next week was tense. Security was increased throughout the palace. Alex was assigned personal guards who followed him everywhere. He hated it, but he understood why it was necessary. Someone wanted him dead or gone. Dr. Nina Shaw came to visit him during this time. She looked worried. Alex, Earth's government is demanding that you return home. They say this situation is too dangerous. They want to pull the Endeavor out and end the alliance talks. Alex shook his head. If I leave now, it proves the extremists right. It shows that humans are weak and cannot be trusted. It could destroy everything we have built. But you could die, Nina said. Someone here wants to kill you. Then we need to find out who it is, Alex replied. And we need to stop them. Alex started his own investigation. He talked to guards, servants, and minor nobles. He asked questions about who might oppose the human alliance and why. He used techniques he had learned in human military intelligence training. Slowly, a pattern emerged. Several nobles from old traditional families had been meeting in secret. They called themselves the Pure Circle. They believed that the Vraxi should not mix with other species. They saw Alex as a symbol of corruption and change. But who was leading them? Alex needed more information. He shared what he had learned with Lyra and Zixthan. They were impressed by his detective work. We have suspected some of these nobles for a while, Zixthan admitted, but we had no proof. Your investigation has given us leads to follow. 3 days later, they had their answer. Palace security caught one of the conspirators trying to plant another bomb. Under questioning, he revealed the leader of the Pure Circle. It was someone Alex had met before, someone who had seemed friendly and supportive. Duke Velthar was a powerful noble, one of the Queen's advisors. He was charming and intelligent, and he had hidden his true feelings perfectly. When guards came to arrest him, he did not resist. He stood in the throne room before the Queen with his head held high. You betrayed me, Lyra said, and her voice shook with anger. You betrayed your queen and your people. I tried to save us, the Duke replied calmly. The Vraxi are pure and strong. We do not need aliens. We do not need to change. Your choice to accept this human was a mistake. I tried to correct it. By killing innocent people? Alex asked. By terrorism. The Duke looked at him with cold hatred. You do not belong here, human. You are corrupting our queen and our empire. Everything was perfect before you came. Nothing was perfect, Lyra said. The Vraxi were isolated and stagnant. We stopped growing and learning. The Human Alliance offers us new possibilities, new friends, new ways of thinking. You are afraid of change, Velthar. That fear made you a traitor. The Duke was sentenced to exile on a remote colony world. His co-conspirators received similar punishments. The Pure Circle was broken. That night, Alex and Lyra stood together on the palace balcony. The crisis was over, but both of them knew that opposition to their partnership would continue. There would always be people who feared change. Are you afraid? Lyra asked softly. Sometimes, Alex admitted. But I am also excited. We are building something new here. Something important. That is worth the risk. Lyra reached out and took his hand. It was the first time they had touched in such a familiar way. Her hand was warm and her skin felt smooth and strange against his. Thank you for staying, she said. Thank you for not running away when things became difficult. Alex squeezed her hand gently. Where else would I go? He said with a smile. You are stuck with me now. Lyra laughed, a sound like music. And Alex realized that somewhere along the way, his accidental proposal had stopped feeling like a mistake. It was starting to feel like destiny. 2 months passed. Alex had settled into his role as royal consort in ways he never imagined possible. He attended court sessions every day, sitting beside Lyra on a smaller throne. He advised her on matters of state, offering the human perspective that often revealed solutions the Vraxi had not considered. He had learned to read the color patterns on Vraxi skin, understanding their emotions even before they spoke. But the biggest change was in his relationship with Lyra. What had started as a diplomatic accident had grown into genuine friendship. They spent hours talking about everything from politics to philosophy to silly jokes that made them both laugh. Alex taught Lyra about human music and art. Lyra showed Alex the ancient history of the Vraxi, stories written in light and crystal that predated human civilization by thousands of years. Alex realized he was falling in love with her. It was a strange feeling because Lyra was so different from any human woman, but those differences made her more interesting, not less. She was brilliant, kind, strong, and had a sense of humor that surprised him. When she laughed at his jokes, his whole day felt brighter. When she asked for his opinion, he felt valued and respected. When she touched his hand in passing, his heart raced. He was pretty sure she felt the same way. The patterns on her skin glowed warm colors whenever he entered a room. She found excuses to spend time with him. She asked his advice even on matters she clearly understood herself. But neither of them had spoken about their feelings openly. Both were afraid of what acknowledging those feelings might mean. Then Earth's government sent a diplomatic team to the Vraxi homeworld. They arrived on a large ship with official representatives, military observers, and news reporters. The head of the delegation was Ambassador Patricia Grant, a stern woman who had spent her career in human politics. The welcome ceremony was formal and tense. Ambassador Grant greeted Queen Lyra with correct but cold politeness. Then she turned to Alex and her expression became disapproving. "Captain Carter," she said, "we need to speak privately." They met in a secure room on the human ship. Ambassador Grant did not waste time with pleasantries. "Captain, the Earth government is concerned about your situation. You have been living with aliens for months. You have taken a position in their government. Some people are questioning where your loyalties lie." Alex felt anger rising in his chest. "My loyalties are to both humans and Vraxi. That is the point of being a bridge between our peoples." "A bridge or a hostage?" Grant asked. "Captain, be honest with me. Are you here by choice or are you being forced to stay because leaving would cause a diplomatic incident?" Alex took a deep breath. "I am here by choice. Yes, it started as a mistake, but I have chosen to stay and make the best of it, and it has turned out to be the best mistake I ever made." Grant studied him carefully. "Some in the government think we should demand your return. They worry that you have become too attached to the aliens, that you can no longer represent human interests effectively." "Then they are fools," Alex said bluntly. "I understand the Vraxi better than anyone else in the human government. I can negotiate better treaties, prevent misunderstandings, and build a stronger alliance precisely because I am close to them. My position is an advantage, not a problem." "And what about your relationship with the Queen?" Grant asked. "Our intelligence suggests it has become more than just political." Alex felt his face grow hot. "My relationship with Queen Lyra is complicated, but it does not compromise my ability to serve human interests. If anything, it strengthens the alliance," Grant sighed. "Captain Carter, I came here prepared to demand your return to Earth. But after watching you in that ceremony, seeing how the Vraxi respect you and how the Queen looks at you, I think I understand. You have accomplished something remarkable here. You have made these aliens trust us. That is valuable." She leaned forward. "But Earth needs something in return. We need a formal alliance treaty, trade agreements, technology sharing, military cooperation. Can you help us negotiate those things?" Alex smiled. "That is exactly what I have been working on. Let me arrange a meeting between you and the Queen. I think you will find the Vraxi very willing to negotiate." Over the next 2 weeks, Alex served as the main negotiator between Earth and the Vraxi Empire. He understood both sides perfectly, knew what each wanted, and found compromises that satisfied everyone. The treaty that emerged was comprehensive and fair. Humans would share their military tactics and cultural knowledge. The Vraxi would share advanced energy technology and medical science. Both would defend each other against external threats. The night after the treaty was signed, there was a grand celebration in the palace. Music played, strange Vraxi food was served alongside dishes from Earth, and people from both species mingled and talked. Alex watched it all with pride. This was what he had hoped for from the beginning. Lyra found him standing on the balcony looking up at the stars. She stood beside him silently for a moment. "You did well today," she said. "The treaty is everything we hoped for." "We did well," Alex corrected. "I could not have negotiated any of this without your support." They stood together, watching the celebration through the window. Finally, Lyra spoke again, her voice soft. "Alex, I need to tell you something. Something I should have said weeks ago." Alex turned to look at her. The patterns on her skin were glowing with colors he had learned meant nervousness and hope mixed together. "What is it?" "I know our partnership began as an accident," Lyra said. "I know neither of us planned any of this. But Alex, I do not want this to be just a political arrangement anymore. I care about you. Not as a consort, not as an ambassador. As a person. As someone I want to be with." Alex's heart was pounding. "Lyra, I feel the same way. I think I have for a while now. But I was afraid to say anything. You are a queen, and I am just a human ship captain. We are from completely different worlds." Lyra smiled, and her whole face lit up. "Maybe that is what makes this work. We are different, but we complement each other. You see things I miss. I understand things that confuse you. Together we are stronger than either of us alone. She reached up and touched his face gently. Her hand was warm and soft. Alex Carter, I think I am falling in love with you. Is that strange? Alex covered her hand with his own. No stranger than a human falling in love with an alien queen. Lyra, I love you. I think I have loved you since you laughed at my terrible attempt to use a Vraxi eating utensil. They both laughed, and then Alex did something bold. He leaned down and kissed her. It was awkward at first because Vraxi did not kiss the way humans did, but Lyra learned quickly, and the kiss became something beautiful and new, a perfect blend of human and Vraxi affection. When they finally pulled apart, both were smiling. The celebration continued inside the palace, but Alex and Lyra stayed on the balcony, holding hands and talking quietly about the future. They talked about the challenges they would face. Some Vraxi would never accept a human consort. Some humans would never understand why Alex chose to stay. But they also talked about the possibilities. The children they might have someday. The first human Vraxi hybrids. The new culture they could build together. The example they could set for other species. There is something else we need to discuss, Lyra said. Ambassador Grant asked me an important question today. She wanted to know if you would ever return to Earth or if you plan to stay here forever. Alex had been thinking about this too. I want to stay with you, but I also do not want to abandon my people. Is there a way to do both? Lyra nodded slowly. I have been thinking about this problem. What if we create a new position? You would be both my consort and Earth's permanent ambassador to the Vraxi Empire. You would represent both our peoples. You would be the living symbol of our alliance. Alex thought about it. That could work, but it would need approval from both governments. Some people on both sides would oppose it. Then we will convince them, Lyra said with determination. We will show them that this arrangement benefits everyone. You have already proven your value. The treaty we signed today would not exist without you. You are the bridge between our worlds, Alex. Let us make that official. They spent the rest of the night planning. By morning, they had a proposal ready to present to both governments. It was bold and unprecedented. But then again, their entire relationship had been unprecedented from the start. The next day, Alex and Lyra called a joint meeting with Ambassador Grant and the Vraxi High Council. They presented their plan together, speaking as partners. They proposed that Alex would remain as royal consort, but also serve as Earth's ambassador. He would split his time between the Vraxi homeworld and Earth. He would help both governments understand each other. He would be the first of what they hoped would be many people who served as bridges between species. Ambassador Grant was skeptical at first. This arrangement is highly unusual. I am not sure Earth's government will approve. Then show them the treaty we just signed, Alex said. Show them the trade agreements, the technology sharing, the military alliance. Show them what I have accomplished. Ask them if they want to throw all of that away because they cannot accept an unusual arrangement. Grant smiled slightly. You have become quite the diplomat, Captain. Very well. I will recommend approval. But you should know that you are creating a new kind of job. There is no handbook for being a bridge between species. Good, Alex said with a grin. I never liked following handbooks anyway. The Vraxi High Council also debated the proposal. Some conservative members argued that the royal consort should not have divided loyalties, but most recognized that Alex's unique position was an asset, not a liability. Ambassador Zixton spoke in favor of the plan. Alex Carter has proven himself loyal to both the Queen and to his own people, Zixton said. That is not a weakness. It is exactly what we need. He will ensure that neither side misunderstands the other. He will prevent the kind of mistakes that start wars. This arrangement is wise. In the end, both governments approved the plan. Alex would officially become the first dual ambassador in human history, representing both his species and his adopted home. The ceremony to formalize this new role would take place in 1 month. That evening, Alex and Lyra walked through the palace gardens again. It had become their favorite place to talk privately. The bioluminescent plants glowed softly around them, and the alien stars shone overhead. Are you happy with this decision? Lyra asked. You are taking on a huge responsibility. Alex pulled her close and wrapped his arms around her. She fit perfectly against him, despite their physical differences. I am happy, he said. I get to stay with you and I get to help build something important. What more could I want? Lyra looked up at him, her eyes glowing softly. I was so lonely before you came. I did not even realize how lonely until I met you. Now I cannot imagine ruling without you beside me. You will never have to, Alex promised. I'm here to stay. For better or worse, you are stuck with this clumsy human who cannot even use a fork properly. Lyra laughed. That musical sound that Alex loved. I would not have it any other way. They stood together under the alien sky, two beings from different worlds who had found each other through the most unlikely circumstances. And as they held each other close, both knew that what had started as a translation error had become something far more important. It had become love. And that love would change both their worlds forever. The month passed quickly. Alex found himself busier than ever, preparing for the ceremony that would officially make him both royal consort and ambassador. He studied Vraxi law, human diplomatic protocols, and tried to figure out how to blend both into something new. Dr. Nina Shaw helped him write speeches in both languages. Commander Kyle Morrison, who had returned to Earth briefly, came back with news and gifts from human leaders. Kyle had changed during his time back on Earth. The skeptical officer who once distrusted aliens now spoke passionately about the Vraxi alliance. He had become an advocate for closer cooperation between species. When he arrived at the palace, he greeted Alex with a smile. "You look different," Kyle said, more confident, more settled. "I think this place is good for you," Alex laughed. "I think you are right. Who would have thought? Me, a ship captain, becoming part of an alien royal family. Life is strange. Strange but good," Kyle agreed. "Alex, I need to tell you something. The military brass on Earth wants me to form a joint human Vraxi fleet. They want me to be the first human admiral working with Vraxi forces. I would be based here working alongside your alien friends." Alex felt pride for his friend. "That is amazing, Kyle. You deserve it. And having you here will make my job easier. I will need allies in both militaries if we are going to make this alliance really work." The day of the ceremony arrived. The palace was decorated with symbols from both Earth and the Vraxi homeworld. Human flags hung beside Vraxi banners. Flowers from Earth grew in pots next to glowing Vraxi plants. Representatives from both governments filled the throne room, along with nobles, military officers, and citizens lucky enough to get invitations. Alex wore formal clothing that mixed human and Vraxi styles. His suit was made of Vraxi crystal fabric, but cut in a human fashion. The silver bracelet that marked him as consort gleamed on his wrist. He stood at the front of the throne room waiting, his heart pounding with nervous excitement. Queen Lyra entered the room and everyone fell silent. She looked breathtaking. Her gown was made of flowing silver material that seemed to be made of liquid light. Her crown sparkled with crystals and what looked like captured stars. The patterns on her skin glowed bright and warm. But what made Alex's breath catch was her smile. She was smiling at him with such joy and love that he felt like the luckiest being in the universe. She walked to the front of the room and stood beside him. Ambassador Zixthon stepped forward to conduct the ceremony. In his hands he held two documents. One was written in Vraxi script on crystal paper. The other was printed on Earth paper in multiple human languages. "We gather today to witness something that has never happened before," Zixthon began. His voice carried through the room. "Today we formalize a bond between two species, two governments, two hearts. Captain Alex Carter came to us by accident, through a misunderstanding that could have been embarrassing. Instead, he turned that accident into an opportunity." The old ambassador smiled. "He has proven himself in battle, showing courage and tactical brilliance. He has proven himself in diplomacy, negotiating a treaty that benefits both our peoples. Most importantly, he has proven himself worthy of our Queen's trust and affection. Today we celebrate not just a political alliance but a partnership built on respect, understanding, and love." Lyra took Alex's hands in hers. "Alex Carter, do you accept the responsibility of being my consort? Do you promise to stand beside me, to advise me with honesty, to represent the Vraxi Empire with honor?" "I do," Alex said clearly. "I promise to serve the Vraxi people with all my abilities. I promise to be the partner you deserve." Ambassador Grant stepped forward. "Captain Carter, do you accept the responsibility of being Earth's ambassador? Do you promise to represent humanity's interests, to protect our values, to speak truth even when it is difficult?" "I do," Alex replied. "I promise to serve as a bridge between our worlds. I promise to help humans and Vraxi understand each other, to prevent misunderstandings, to build a future where both species can thrive together." Zixthon placed the Vraxi document in Alex's left hand. Grant placed the Earth document in his right hand. Then by the power granted to us, they said together, we recognize you as both royal consort to Queen Lyravex and ambassador from Earth to the Vraxi Empire. May you serve both roles with wisdom and courage. The room erupted in applause. Humans and Vraxi clapped together, celebrating this historic moment. Alex and Lyra turned to face their people, still holding hands. This was real now. This was official. Alex was truly part of both worlds, but the ceremony was not over. Lyra raised her hand for silence. When the room quieted, she spoke. There is one more thing. In Vraxi culture, a royal consort ceremony is incomplete without a declaration of intent. I want everyone here to understand something clearly. She turned to look at Alex and her eyes were shining. Alex Carter, when you first chose this role, it was by accident. When I accepted, it was partly from curiosity, partly from diplomatic calculation. But that is not why we stand here today. We stand here because somewhere along the way, what began as a mistake became real. I love you, Alex, not as a political partner, not as a bridge to humanity. I love you as a person, as my partner, as the one I want beside me for all my days. The Vraxi in the room gasped. This kind of public declaration was rare and deeply significant in their culture. Alex felt tears forming in his eyes. He squeezed Lyra's hands tighter. I love you too, he said, his voice thick with emotion. You have changed my life in ways I never imagined. You made me see possibilities I never knew existed. I came here by accident, but I choose to stay by love. You are my partner, my best friend, my home. Wherever you are, that is where I belong. Lyra pulled him close and kissed him right there in front of everyone. It was bold and public and completely against Vraxi royal protocol. But no one complained. Instead, the applause grew louder. Humans cheered. Vraxi made a humming sound that was their version of celebration. Even the most conservative nobles looked touched by the moment. The celebration that followed lasted 3 days. There were formal dinners where Alex gave speeches in both languages. There were demonstrations of human and Vraxi technology. There were cultural exchanges where humans learned Vraxi dances and Vraxi tried human food. Alex watched it all with a sense of wonder and pride. On the final night of celebration, Alex stood on the palace balcony with Lyra. This had become their special place, where they came to talk away from the pressures of court and politics. The alien stars shone overhead, but Alex also recognized some constellations from Earth's sky. He was truly between two worlds now. Do you ever regret it? Lyra asked softly. Choosing that title? Starting all of this? Alex thought about everything that had happened. The confusion and fear of those first days. The battle against the Korvath. The conspiracy and assassination attempts. The long negotiations and difficult conversations. And through it all, the growing love between him and this remarkable woman. No, he said firmly. I do not regret it. If I could go back and change things, I would not. Because changing that choice would mean losing all of this. Losing you. Lyra smiled and leaned against him. I used to think I understood what love was. Vraxi are taught that love is a partnership of minds, a meeting of compatible goals and values. But you showed me something different. Love is also laughter. It is understanding. It is someone who sees your flaws and loves you anyway. It is choosing to stay even when things are difficult. So what happens now? Alex asked. We have our alliance. We have our positions. What comes next? Now we build, Lyra said. We build a future where humans and Vraxi work together. We create programs for cultural exchange. We establish joint research projects. We train diplomats who can serve as bridges like you. We show other species that cooperation is better than conflict. Alex nodded. And on a personal level? Lyra looked up at him, her eyes sparkling with mischief. On a personal level, we live our lives. We face the challenges together. We support each other. Maybe someday we have children. If our scientists can figure out how to make that possible. We grow old together. We make mistakes and fix them. We laugh and cry and argue and make up. We do all the normal things that partners do, except we do them across species and cultures and star systems. Alex laughed. When you put it that way, it sounds almost ordinary. It is ordinary, Lyra said. Love is always ordinary and always extraordinary at the same time. That is what makes it wonderful. They stood together in comfortable silence, watching the stars. Ships moved through the sky above them, some human, some Vraxi. The alliance was already changing both societies. Alex knew there would be more challenges ahead. There would be people who opposed their union. There would be political complications. There would be days when being a bridge between worlds felt impossible. But looking at Lyra, feeling her warmth beside him, Alex knew he could face all of it. He had accidentally proposed marriage to an alien queen, and she had meant it. What started as the biggest mistake of his life had become his greatest adventure. 6 months later, Alex stood in the same command center where he had once suggested his first military strategy. But today he was not there for war. He was there to witness something peaceful and exciting. On the view screens, a new space station was being constructed, a joint project between humans and Vraxi. It would serve as a cultural center and research facility, a symbol of their alliance. Dr. Nina Shaw was leading the research team. Commander Kyle Morrison commanded the joint fleet protecting the construction. Ambassador Grant had returned to Earth, but visited regularly to check on the alliance's progress. Even Ambassador Zixthan had taken a new role as the head of a school that taught young Vraxi about human culture and young humans about Vraxi traditions. Everyone who had been part of that first confused meeting in the throne room had found their place in this new world they were building together. And it was working. Slowly, sometimes with difficulty, but it was working. Lyra came to stand beside Alex as she always did. She took his hand as she always did. Together they watched humans and Vraxi working side by side in space, building something new. "I have been thinking," Lyra said, "about that day you made your choice, about the translation error that started everything." "What about it?" Alex asked. "I do not think it was an error after all," Lyra said thoughtfully. "Or maybe it was, but it was the right kind of error. Sometimes the best things in life happen by accident. Sometimes what seems like a mistake is actually destiny finding a way to work." Alex smiled and pulled her closer. "You might be right. Maybe I was always supposed to choose that title. Maybe you were always supposed to accept. Maybe everything happened exactly as it needed to happen to bring us here. Or maybe," Lyra said with a laugh, "we are just very good at making the best of our mistakes." "That too," Alex agreed. Later that evening, they returned to the gardens for their daily walk. It had become a ritual for them, a time to talk about their day away from the formality of court. As they walked among the glowing plants, Alex thought about how much his life had changed in such a short time. A year ago, he had been a simple ship captain exploring unknown space. Now he was a royal consort, an ambassador, and the husband of an alien queen. He had helped prevent a war, negotiated a historic treaty, and become a symbol of hope for 2 entire species. It was overwhelming when he thought about it too much. But then Lyra would say something funny or point out a beautiful flower, or just look at him with those bright eyes. And suddenly, everything felt simple again. He was just a man in love with an extraordinary woman. Everything else was just details. "Alex," Lyra said, interrupting his thoughts, "I have news. The medical researchers working on human Vraxi genetic compatibility have made a breakthrough. They believe it might be possible for us to have children. It would require some medical assistance, but it could work." Alex stopped walking, stunned. "Really? Children? Our children?" Lyra nodded, her face glowing with excitement. "They would be the first human Vraxi hybrids. They would be completely new, a blend of both our species. It is a huge decision. We do not have to decide now. But Alex, I wanted you to know that it is possible. If we want it, we can have a family." Alex felt tears in his eyes. A family. Children who would be both human and Vraxi. Children who would grow up in 2 cultures, speaking 2 languages. Living proof that different species could not just coexist, but thrive together. "I want that," he said. "Someday when we are ready, I want that very much." Lyra hugged him tightly. "Then someday we will make it happen. We will have a family, Alex. A strange, wonderful, unprecedented family." They continued their walk, talking excitedly about the future, about children who would be ambassadors by birth, about teaching them about Earth and the Vraxi homeworld, about the challenges they would face and the opportunities they would have, about building a life that honored both their heritages. As night fell completely and the alien stars came out in full force, Alex and Lyra returned to the palace. They walked hand in hand through halls that had become home, past guards who saluted them both, past servants who smiled at them warmly, past portraits of previous Vraxi rulers who had never imagined an alien consort. In their private chambers, they prepared for bed, talking quietly about the next day's schedule. It It was all so domestic, so normal. And yet nothing about their situation was normal. They were making history every day simply by being together, by making their partnership work, by showing two species that love could cross any boundary. As Alex drifted off to sleep with Lyra beside him, he thought one more time about that day in the throne room, the day he had made the biggest mistake of his life, the day he had accidentally asked an alien queen to marry him, the day that Queen had looked at him and said yes. It had been a mistake, a translation error, an accident, but it had also been the beginning of something beautiful. The alien queen had asked him to choose a rank. He had said husband, and she had meant it. She still meant it. And so did he. And as he fell asleep, Alex smiled, because sometimes the best things in life come from the most unexpected places. Sometimes a mistake is not a mistake at all. Sometimes it is just destiny, wearing a very convincing disguise.